Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to the show all the way down in California. He's getting ready to go to Disneyland sometime in the holiday season and enjoy some food down there and the magic that there is. How are you doing today, Chris?
Good. I'm excited to go. It's next week, I think. Yeah, we're going for 2 days. We're spending the night down there and everything. So it's going to be grand.
I love Disneyland at Christmas time, and we had to cancel our trip, unfortunately, but hopefully Christmas will be back again next year and we'll make it down there next time.
Oh, you can guarantee Christmas will be back. those penny counters at the Disney are always going to make Christmas a little bit longer next year.
Exactly. All right, let's jump into today's mini-sode topic, DCL 101. For those of you who haven't sailed recently or haven't sailed at all, these are just kind of short blurbs on different topics to help you plan your cruise a little smarter, help you out before you get back on board the ship. So today we are going to talk about something near and dear to your heart, and that is Disney dining.
Yeah, I love food.
All right, so let's just jump into it. We're just going to go over some basics. How many dining rooms are there on each ship, Chris?
3. There are 3 dining rooms on each ship, and they used to all follow a similar sort of cadence, right? There's one off the lobby that's sort of like a fancier, Frencher restaurant. There's always Animator's Palette. And then more recently, there's a departure of an additional dining room that has more of a show element on the older ships. But those 3 main dining rooms are included. So you can go to those dining rooms and get food that you don't pay for. The only thing you would pay for, and I almost never do this, Steve, but I'm 90% sure this is true. You would pay for any sort of like specialty beverages or alcohol that you ordered. And specialty beverages is not just alcohol. It can include, like, they always have like a smoothie that the kids could order, or people who don't want alcohol and things like that. But you don't have to pay for anything if you don't want to.
That's correct. Alcohol, you have to pay for it. And good or bad, my kids now enjoy the non-alcoholic drinks that they have, and they think it's fun to order something different other than just a soda or water or juice or something like that. So that has been included in our bill recently. So we are going to be talking about just the main dining rooms. We're not going to talk about Palo or Remy. Chris, I hear from a friend of mine that they have this thing called rotational dining. What is rotational dining?
Well, it's an industry first back in 1998 where they introduced basically this concept of, listen, we can't fit everybody onto the ship in one dining room, but we want everyone to experience the dining room in a way that makes sense and that allows everyone to get the same sort of experience. So what they did was they said, we're going to divide the ship into 6 groups of diners, 3 for the first dining, 3 for the second dining. And we're going to have each group eat at one of these 3 restaurants. And then the next night, they'll eat at a different restaurant. And then the night after that, they'll eat at a different restaurant. And some of you might be like, wait a minute, I've eaten at the same restaurant twice in a row. And that's true. Sometimes you will eat at the same restaurant twice in a row because they have a themed night, a specialty night, like Pirates Night, or maybe they did that for Thanksgiving since that was like its own menu. But my point is, you will move from restaurant to restaurant so you get the same experience as everybody else, and you get to sort of have that menu, that vibe, that ambiance. And that's especially cool on the old ships because the Magic and the Wonder have dining shows in 2 of their theaters, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the point is, everybody gets the same experience. And what's most revolutionary about this is that your serving team travels with you. So you'll have the same server every single night at each restaurant. And that means they can get to know you, and they can get to learn that Steve's kids like to order the specialty smoothie and have that waiting and ready for them when they get there.
So Chris, when I go to eat at Applebee's, I only have 1 server come to my table. Why do I need 2 on a Disney cruise ship?
Well, while Applebee's is the pinnacle of quality food, the reason you have 2 and actually 3 servers, because there's a head server that oversees a certain number of tables as well, is because there are a lot of people who are all eating at the exact same time. And so the servers have a lot to do. You may be wondering sort of what is the head server's job versus the assistant server's job. The head server will always take your order. And usually they'll give you recommendations off of the menu, things that they think you would like best. The assistant server is usually in charge of drinks, making sure that you have refills, making sure that your drinks are flowing. And they will also grab, if you want butter, or you need a different thing, they'll help with that. The assistant server is often the one who, before COVID, would help cut your kids, chicken, or maybe stop and do a magic trick. But, regardless, they work in tandem. Now, for folks like Christy and I who have dietary restrictions, that head server becomes your good friend because they will pretty consistently be the one making sure that your food is allergen safe.
Exactly. And to go back, now I'm totally drawing a blank. What's the overall head server that oversees the dining room, Chris? He's the
maitre d'. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like the maitre d'. Anyways, you'll also have him or her kind of go around, and they're the ones that kind of deal with if you have some maybe you're looking to change tables or bigger problems that your server can't help you with. So they kind of oversee the flow and the pacing of the whole dining room. Okay, Chris, I'm on the aqueduct. How do I know when my dinner time is? What time will I be eating?
Well, if you have first dining, you'll be eating at 5:15. Lately, because of COVID, they've been staggering arrivals. So your app might be like, arrive at 5:25. And that's just because they don't want everyone arriving at 5:15 at the same time. But generally, first dining is 5:15, second dining is 8:15. So they're 3 hours apart. And what happens between those 3 hours? Well, if you're on second dining, you will have the opportunity to go see the evening entertainment, and then about an hour between the entertainment and your food. So you can walk around, go get ready for dinner, go to the lounge and listen to some music. If you're first dining, sometimes you'll get back on the ship from an excursion, run to your cabin, change some clothes, and then you have to be at the dining room by 5:15. So those are the two different dining times that Disney uses.
Chris, I was on the Fantasy 3 years ago, and on my Key to the World card, it showed me where I was supposed to eat. How can I find where I'm going to eat now? Because there's nothing on there. And my significant other is yelling at me, trying to figure out where we're going to eat tonight.
Well, for better or for worse, we are in a digital world, and the dining rotation can now be found in your app. This allows Disney to change your dining rotation day of, hour of, minute of, if they need to, and the information will always be accurate. When they printed it on your Key to the World card, it was stuck on there, and if they changed it, it was incorrect. I will say that on my cruise on the Wonder, I don't think I mentioned this on my episode, when we got to the restaurant, they asked everyone to refresh their app because they had changed everyone's table numbers and they wanted to make sure that people were going to the right tables. So literally down to the last minute, they can make changes that are reflected in the app.
So on the app, you'll look and see what your plans are for the day. It will show the dining room you're going to, and it will also show your table number so you can find it on the app now. So also, Chris, you got me kind of a little stressed out there. I'm getting back from an excursion and I'm going to eat right away. What can I wear to the dining rooms? Do I have to wear a tux? Do I have to wear a suit? What is acceptable?
Yes, you have to wear a cocktail dress or a tuxedo at all times in the main dining rooms. Your children also have to wear that same attire. It's really controversial. No, kidding. Disney, for better or for worse, some people really like the fancy cruise experience. Disney is casual all the way. Even in the adult dining rooms, if you just threw on like a polo shirt and some nice jeans, you're good to go with Palo at least. Remy might be a little bit more like, make sure you iron your jeans at first. But for any of the other dining rooms, it's come as you are, whatever you feel most comfortable wearing. I think no bathing suits would be probably a rule there, but otherwise you can wear what you'd like in the main dining rooms.
Yeah, no bathing suits or tank tops, they say.
Right. And then what I will say, though, I was joking, you don't have to have a tuxedo or a cocktail dress, but they do have formal nights and they do have semi-formal nights. And you will look around some nights and be like, wait, am I underdressed? Why is everybody wearing like Oscar's red carpet gowns right now? So, there are nights like that. And usually those nights, you'll notice they bring out photographers and special backgrounds that families can take pictures. In the past, they would do like captain's champagne toasts and things like that on that night. But anyway, the point is, don't stress. I've seen people be like, my husband never wears anything but shorts. What am I going to do? And it's like, that's fine. Wear shorts. Enjoy your cruise. You paid to be there. So it's up to you.
I think the one place where you maybe notice it the most is if you go to Alaska. When we went on our Norway cruise, it's a little bit cooler climates versus being down in the Caribbean, as far as, people not generally wearing shorts then. But as you said, something comfortable, just no swimwear or tank tops. All right, here we go. This is going to be the controversial part, or maybe not so controversial. Let's talk about the different dining rooms in each one of the ships. We'll start with the Magic, and you'll kind of find that actually, in all honesty, all four of the ships have kind of similar restaurants or similar themed restaurants, other than as far as the food technically goes, but the experience is a little bit different. So we'll start with the Magic, which features Lumiere, Animator's Palette, and Rapunzel's Royal Table. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with what is common across all four ships. So Lumiere, Triton's, Royal Table, or Royal Palace. They have different names for these things, but basically they're all the French style fancy restaurant right off the lobby. So on the Magic or the Wonder or the Dream or the Fantasy, you will go there if you want your escargot. You will go there if you want your more princess theme or royalty theme. And that's how that restaurant works. I will say that oftentimes they serve lunch during the day in this particular restaurant because it's central, though on my last cruise, they were serving lunch in Animators as well. So I think it just depends. But yeah, this is sort of your classic Disney fancier looking restaurant on the inside. Less themed, I will say, but definitely some of my favorite menus on the ship. This is where you go if you want that fried brie. This is where you go if you want my favorite apple tart. And this is where you go if you want Steve's escargot.
Or the Chateaubriand, which I enjoy as well. Yeah, this is one of our favorite restaurants. Disney Cruise Line classifies these restaurants as American French. And I guess there is a difference in the name. It's Royal Court on the Fantasy and Royal Palace on the Dream. But as you said,
I thought so.
Yeah, my bad.
They all have different names, but it doesn't really matter. The theming is also very light. Like Triton's, the only thing that really makes it under the sea is that there's a mosaic of Triton and Ariel way in the back. And Lumiere's, same thing. There's some Beauty and the Beast touches, but it's not heavy. And then Royal Palace is almost just like a mix of princesses and it's just sort of like fancy looking. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just looks like a ballroom, like a ballroom at a nice hotel.
One of the fun things that they've started since since they started sailing after COVID is this is the restaurant where, and I haven't experienced this yet, but where the princesses will, actually, I take that back. We saw that on the last one. The princesses will at some point during your dinner kind of come through and wave, and you can take a quick picture. Actually, they're not going to stop for you to take a picture, but you get a chance to say hello to all of them as they walk by as you're eating your dinner.
Yeah, on the Wonder, when I did it, it was the Fab Five. But yes, there are characters who come in and dance to a little song that plays over the loudspeakers. And that's new. It didn't happen before. I
like that little touch, in all honesty. It kind of makes for a fun little moment while you're eating together with your family or your friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Family and friends.
Family and friends. All right. Let's move on to Animator's Palette, which is on board each one of the ships, but a little bit different from the Dream class to the Magic class ships.
Yeah. So Animator's Palette on the classic ships is truly iconic. It was made at a time when technology was not as advanced. And so the walls themselves appear to be black and white screens, like mesh screens with little holes in them. But when you backlight a mesh screen, you can see through the screen. And so throughout the dinner, basically what was once black and white moves to color and to painted animated sequences. And then there's a great big finale sequence where they update the animation constantly. So, movies from this year will sometimes even pop in there. And then a big special finale where a friend comes out and visits you. It may or may not be a sorcerer of sorts who is in Fantasmic as well. So, and there's the Fantasmic score that is utilized. So it's really an amazing show. That only happens in the Magic and the Wonder, and the animators on the Magic and the Wonder. Now, there is an animator's palette on the Dream and the Fantasy. Those two restaurants are carbon copies of each other. Instead of the things are getting painted throughout the meal, they have an extension of something you can find at both California Adventure and Epcot called Turtle Talk with Crush. Turtle Talk with Crush is essentially Crush will swim up to a window a TV and talk to you and your family if you happen to be near, and friends, if you happen to be near that TV. Then on longer cruises, they also have something called live animation, or I don't know I forget the name of the show, but it's essentially where you start your meal by drawing your own animated character with crayons that they provide you on a special sheet of paper. And then there's a big surprise I don't want to spoil, but your character may come to life. And that's kind of cool. A lot of technology there. Steve and I are a little biased because we both strongly prefer Animator's Palette on the older classic ships versus the newer Animator's Palettes.
Definitely. Nothing wrong with the dream and the fantasy. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes with if the family wants to interact with Crush. I've seen some kind of like cringy moments where you're kind of like, they don't really want to talk
go
to
away, Crush.
They don't want to talk to Crush, and Crush is trying to talk to him. And yeah, both fun experiences, especially for younger kids. But as you said, Chris, we definitely enjoyed the one on the Magic and the Wonder a little bit better. Okay, before we talk on the two newer restaurants, let's go to Enchanted Garden. I think this is probably from our show, probably the one that people are least excited about dining in. But in all honesty, we dined there twice on our last cruise. And I think it's we enjoy it. We really enjoy it, Enchanted Garden. I like the menu. I like the ambiance of the setting. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, Enchanted Gardens, the theme is light. It is like you're in a hedged English garden or something like that. And when you first walk in, there's actually a fountain, like a working fountain with water in it. Which is unusual for an indoor space on a cruise ship that's rocking around everywhere. But the sort of vibe is that when you get there, it's like sunset, right? So there's still light out. And then as the dinner progresses, these light fixtures that look like flowers will bloom open, and the evening will come, and then stars will fill the canopy of the restaurant. So, that's cool. That's cool. I think that is pretty cool, but it is oftentimes not people's favorite because there's no show associated with it. It really is just sort of, as you eat, the ambiance changes a little bit, but I personally like it. It is in the literal basement of the ship. It's like you have to go down from the atrium to get to it. It's a nice restaurant, and I like it. So I would say go there.
I feel that this will probably be the one that at some point when the dream of the fantasy go through dry dock will disappear and they'll come up with something new. But for now, we enjoy it. I kind of like the ambiance of it. They didn't have the show going when we went this time, but they did have the Fab Five come through and dance. That's where they danced on the dream.
So they didn't do the like flowers blooming on this cruise?
No.
Oh, interesting.
You just ate in the garden. That was it. So,
all right. Well,
all right, Chris, you want to do Tiana's or Rapunzel's next?
Let's do Tiana's. I was there most recently. So Tiana's is on the Wonder. It's only found on the Wonder, and it is set to be Tiana's sort of like restaurant from the movie that is called Tiana's Place, right? So it's set in New Orleans. It's on a cruise ship, so it doesn't look exactly like the movie, but it does have some nice touches in terms of they've aged some things and made some things look more like it's set in New Orleans. There are Mardi Gras beads when you get to your table. Everybody gets their own Mardi Gras beads that they can wear and take home. The menu is New Orleans inspired. So there are a lot of like jambalayas and Creole inspired flavors. There are beignets for dessert if you would like them, but they have other desserts if you're not a huge fan. And the show is actually not Tiana. Tiana has hired entertainment for the restaurant called the Crawfish Crooners. And essentially it's a jazz band with a crooner. And they play live music and they sing Disney songs and songs from the movie. It's a great show. It's nice ambiance. There is a fun little finale where Tiana does sing a little bit. Your favorite alligator makes an appearance with his trumpet. So it is a original for Disney. They had never done a restaurant like this until they built Tiana's, and it became so popular that they immediately realized, hey, we need to do something new on the Magic too. So that is where the next restaurant comes into play, Rapunzel's Royal Table. Rapunzel's Royal Table similarly has a story. It takes place in, I suppose, sort of like the palace's dining room or something like that. But the story is that it's her birthday. So every day is Rapunzel's birthday in that restaurant. If you know what happens on Rapunzel's birthday, they light lanterns. And so there is a beautiful sort of lantern moment. And then instead of a jazz quartet or trio, they have folks from, what's the ruffians called? Do you remember?
The Thuggos.
The Thugs, yeah.
Yeah.
They have the Thugs doing some performance and interaction throughout the dinner. Similarly, though, it is great. Also, that restaurant's really fun because you can find hidden Pascals, her little chameleon friend, all over the restaurant. The theming's really nice. And if you've seen Rapunzel, she hits people over the head with frying pans, entangled. And so their sort of famous dessert is a frying pan dessert with fry bread in it. And so that is sort of the specialty of the house.
I never put that two together. Now that you just said that, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's their I think they realized Tiana's got a famous dessert, beignets. We got to give Rapunzel something famous, fry bread.
I will say the only negative about, and I don't remember Tiana's because we didn't eat at Tiana's last time, but definitely for Rapunzel's, maybe the only negative about it. And I think it's going to be, as you talked about yesterday, Chris, corrected on the Wish. It's just, these were, spaces that they repurposed into these new experiences. And so there are some tables where you don't have the greatest sight lines to be able to see the shows.
Very true. They are making a Frozen restaurant on the Wish. That restaurant, in all of the drawings and concept art, has the stage in the middle of the restaurant. That would be far improving sightlines, whereas both Rapunzel and Tiana have the stage at the far end of the restaurant. So if you're set way back, you won't be close to the stage.
Well, let's talk about the food a little bit. The first question, will there be food on the menu that my kids will eat? Yes, they definitely have a different menu for the kids every night. You can always get the staples of mac and cheese, burgers. If your kids are a little bit more adventurous, steak, chicken.
Corn dogs. They have corn dogs. I think. I've seen adults order the corn dogs before.
Right. And don't be afraid. You can definitely do that. You can order off the kids menu if there's something that you would enjoy in that. But I don't think that is really a factor for most families. There's always going to be something on there that the kids will eat. Let's talk about the adults. So will there be food on the menu that I will want to eat, Chris?
Yeah. So if you have a more meat and potatoes vibe, yes, there will be that. You can always order I don't know why they call it lighter fare. Because it's not, it's literally steak and buttered potatoes. So I don't know how is that lighter, but you can order a steak prepared how you like. It's not a high quality cut of steak. I will promise you that, but it is steak and it's prepared the way you want. And usually a baked potato or steamed vegetables. They also will always have a fish option. They will always have a chicken option, which is like a pan roasted chicken. And then they will always have vegan and vegetarian options as well. I do know from experience with friends who are vegan that there are not a lot of options, though Disney has started carrying Impossible burgers on the ships. So if you're a fan of that type of meatless burger, that's not a veggie burger, that's now available for you. And also, if you are vegan or vegetarian and you tell the head server, they will be creative and pull things together for you that aren't on the menu at all. They want you to be happy. So they have a lot of ingredients on the ship. So tell them what you like to eat and they'll make it for you. So that's the sort of menu vibe, is that you can find what you eat if you have special dietary restrictions. They will take care of you. Christy has done a bunch of episodes on dietary restrictions and food allergies. So you can go back into our canon of shows and find those. But generally, anything you need, Disney will be great about in terms of food options. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I don't see something on the main menu I want, so I will just order that steak and potatoes. So it's totally fine. You can do that. And I recommend it. It's pretty good.
One tip, though, is that if you see something on there that you want to try, you're not limited to ordering just one entree. You can order several entrees and try them all if you want to. I know that that's something that Christy has done in the past and a lot of other people do as well. Chris, I think you do.
Yeah, you can also ask for smaller portions. So if you don't want an entire order of ravioli, but you want to try the ravioli, you can say, hey, I'd like a smaller portion of the ravioli. Can you bring that out? Because you don't want to be wasteful.
Right. And I would definitely say, especially, get to know your servers that first night. We had one on the Magic when we were in the Mediterranean, and then we were on the Fantasy as well. And just on this recent cruise, their recommendations are spot on. They'll tell you what to order that night. So even if it's something that you don't think you would normally want to try, they're generally spot on as to what is the best thing on the menu that night, what has been prepared the best. So give it a shot. This is your chance. And if you don't like it, you can always turn it back and order that steak and do that. So I guess one last thing to finish up, they do have a couple specialty nights as well. They have a Pirates Night menu, which is somewhat Caribbean influenced. They have a Till We Meet. Chris is cringing on that one. It's not his favorite. They have a Till We Meet Again menu, which is on the final night of your cruise. I didn't see that one. And then I've never heard this one before, but the Captain's Gala and Prince and Princess menus. Have you heard that?
Yeah, if you go, what you'll find out is if you go on like a transatlantic or a Panama Canal cruise, they have the weirdest named menus. It'll be like, it'll be really, really digging deep into the rotational menus that they've used in the past to find new and exciting things to offer. So Disney technically has 14 different menus that they could offer on a 2-week cruise. One of the critiques that Disney sometimes gets is if you go on 3 or 4 night cruises, you will likely see the same menu year after year after year. They don't update them very often.
Well, that's kind of a quick overview of what's available on dining on board DCL. I'll give you 2 other references besides going to Disney Cruise Line's website itself. Check out the unofficial guide. They do a great breakdown of all the different dining spaces, what's included. Their latest book was 2020, so I think that 2022 will be coming out. They're going to update it again. And also Sarah over at Gluten Free, Dairy Free WDW. She covers a lot of the Walt Disney World stuff, but she also has a lot of Disney Cruise Line information as well. She sails all the time. She's been on several of our shows. So if you have dietary needs, that is a great reference to dive into to find out what Disney Cruise Line can do for you. So as we get out here, Chris, any final thoughts about Disney dining?
No, I have famously said that Disney dining is like really quality wedding food. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Some people are like, that means you don't like the food. I just mean it's not the same as Palo or Remy. I will say that. And one day maybe we'll talk more about those. And we've talked about them a lot on other episodes. But the main dining is something you should be excited about. There are lots of options, tasty options, and it's not every day that you get to spend an entire vacation eating 3-course meals every single night. So that's pretty cool.
In a themed restaurant with a lot of different bells and whistles that make it a fun experience for you and your family. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. Thanks for everybody coming back and taking a listen to this mini-sode. Thanks for everybody coming back and taking a listen to our podcast, and we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast.
Bye, everyone.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.